Thank you, Abhishek, for your kind words. And thank you for inviting me for this lovely instruction course. I have been enjoying these wonderful videos and excellent surgeries. And I would also like to thank Darius for his help with this presentation. So I'm going to talk to you about extreme trauma, and extreme trauma can be really challenging to handle. However, I'm going to give you just broad outlines. This is you must be aware of this trauma classification, which has now been adopted by the Trauma Society, and it is quite a simple trauma classification, and it is actually good to classify your cases into this classification so that you can compare outcomes and also help in predicting prognosis. So even before you do the primary repair, you must look for the vital signs or any bony injuries or any associated facial ENT trauma. And if you do see any unstable vital signs or impaired mental status or any serious non-ocular injuries, then these take precedence over the ocular injuries. So these must be referred for proper management to proper hospitals. As far as the eye injury is concerned, you must take detailed history, especially the circumstances of the trauma and what exactly has hit the eye. You can do a quick examination, either slit lamp or even a torchlight examination. And if there is a frank open globe or foreign body, then the surgery is a must. If there is uncertainty, imaging can help in ascertaining whether there is an open globe. And even after imaging, if there is still uncertainty, an exploratory surgery can be done if necessary. Now, when to intervene for vitrectomy is a big, debatable point. Whether you should do vitrectomy at the time of primary repair. So the pros for this is that there is no fibrovascular proliferation at this stage, and there is less chance of infection if you plan to do a vitrectomy at this stage. But there are a lot of disadvantages of doing vitrectomy at this stage. So first of all, you have poor visualization. The tissues are all inflamed and edematous. We are unable to see the just a second, please. We are unable to see the posterior segment well, and sometimes even assessment is not possible. Also, but there is a possibility that if you wait for too long, there can be proliferation of fibrovascular membranes inside the eye. So any vitreous incarcerated along with presence of blood and lens material can give rise to progression of proliferative membranes, and these can then exert traction either on the retina or on the ciliary body, or they can form a pupillary membrane. So you need to intervene before this stage. So let us look at the indications for early, intermediate, and late interventions. So early vitrectomy, that is within 72 hours, is required if you suspect endophthalmitis, presence of toxic intraocular foreign bodies, or retinal detachment. Late vitrectomy, that is between 3 to 14 days, is done for retinal detachment, lens injuries, severe vitreous hemorrhage, double perforating injury, or intraocular foreign body. And a delayed vitrectomy is possible if you have just a pupillary membrane, a dislocated lens, ghost cell glaucoma, RD with PVR, macular pucker, or simple vitreous opacities. A preoperative evaluation is a must. You must ascertain perception of light, and sometimes a BEP can help if you are not able to ascertain whether patient can see the light. Consent and a proper counseling is very important. Associated injuries, especially the anterior segment, must be evaluated, and you must see whether it is possible to have good visualization, as you can see these few examples here. And so if any combined surgery is necessary, such as a cataract removal or iridoplasty or penetrating keratoplasty or scleral fixation, that can be combined with your posterior segment repair. Posterior segment assessment is often difficult in such cases, and there comes the role of imaging. Imaging can help you ascertain the retinal status. It can ascertain whether there is any posterior globe rupture. The vitreoretinal relationship can be ascertained due to, by imaging. Presence of foreign body, a dislocated lens or IOL can be determined, as well as choroidal detachment. Now, this will help the surgeon in planning the surgery, getting the required instruments ready, such as, say, for example, a foreign body forceps or a magnet, and it will also help in prognostication. So these are examples. Here you see an ultrasound with total RD with PVR, and a CT scan construction where you see bony injuries, fractures. And here you can see a foreign body right at the macula, which can definitely help you explain the bad prognosis to the patient beforehand. So the general principles of surgery, here I would like to show you this cornea, which is badly damaged, but still it offers a good view of the posterior segment. So you can attempt surgery even in such eyes. but it is very important to ascertain a watertight globe before you start your posterior segment repair. And here you see that the wound is leaking due to some incarceration or iris and vitreous there. So it is important that you first suture the wound and make it watertight before you proceed with your vitrectomy surgery. Sclerotomy planning is a very essential, and you must pay meticulous attention to the position, the site of sclerotomy. It should be at a safe distance from the repair wound, and at the same time, it should have a good access to the wound as well as to the posterior pole. Infusion cannula placement is also very important. One must avoid, sites of large parallel detachments. And as, if you suspect parallel detachment, then a 6 millimeter infusion cannula is better. Otherwise, you can also use an AC maintainer like this, or even a bent infusion cannula. Now, oftentimes when you perform the sclerotomy in traumatic situations, you can see this egress of this bloody blood-tinged fluid. This is nothing but the liquefied suprachoroidal hemorrhage, which is often present in traumatic situation. So here we are actually fixing a 20 gauge infusion cannula. This sometimes can help. This probably there must have been some reason, maybe it was not available, the 23 gauge cannula, but the rest of the sclerotomies are 23 gauge. Now, once you go inside, you can see how difficult it is to do surgery in such a situation where there is just a mass of tissue inside, and it is impossible to determine which is vitreous, which is a membrane, and which is the retina. So sometimes the bimanual surgery with a chandelier can definitely help. It should be definitely, you should first make sure that it is not the retina before you cut any tissue. And after this is a result after a meticulous surgery, after 3 hours of surgery, you can see the retina is now somehow at least visible and attached. Detachment of posterior vitreous is an important step in any surgery, and it is recommended for all surgery. However, it can be very difficult, and especially in young children. And if there is a pre-existing fibrosis or retinal detachment, you have to be even more careful. But if you leave a residual vitreous, that is also not good, because that will eventually contract and cause fibrous proliferation and lead to recurrence. This is a situation where you can see that there is a dense red vitreous hemorrhage. It is totally adherent to the retina. The retina is also totally detached, and the view is also very poor. So it makes your life very difficult. You have to be very, very careful. You go layer by layer in removing this blood, at the same time trying to not damage the retina. So at all times you need to be careful. Now, Dilraj already touched upon this subject, but many times you will come across situations where you can have vitreous or retinal incarceration. Do not pull the vitreous from the wound and leave it to plug the wound. That is better. And just trim around this incarceration in a vitreous incarceration. If you have a mild retinal incarceration, then again you can just barrage it and probably support it with a buckle. For severe incarcerations, you can cut the retina and do laser around it. So these are a few situations where extreme traumatized globes, but they have settled well. Nearly about 18% of posterior segment trauma will have intraocular foreign bodies. Imaging is vital, and reactive foreign bodies such as iron or copper, which can cause siderosis or chalcosis, need to be removed. Non-reactive foreign bodies such as glass or plastic, if they are very small, can be left behind, but however, they can cause mechanical damage. And vegetative matter will lead to infection, so that we have to remove. Considerations in the removal for foreign body is you need to be very certain about the location of the foreign body, whether it is intravitreal, on the retina, or subretinal, whether it is magnetic or non-magnetic, and which route of the foreign removal that you can take for this foreign body removal. This chart will a little bit explain to you how we can remove the foreign body. In all situations, you must do an indirect ophthalmoscopy at the end to look for any peripheral breaks or dialysis. In case of intravitreal foreign bodies, you remove the vitreous around the foreign body, and then remove, if less than 5 millimeters foreign body, you can remove it by enlarging the sclerotomy. For magnetic, it is very easy. You can use a magnet. For non-magnetic foreign bodies or large foreign bodies, you can remove them through limbus. And sometimes you may have to even sacrifice a clear lens in such a situation. If you have a foreign body on the retina which is encapsulated, then you may just cut open the capsule and tease the foreign body out of the capsule. Do not bother to dissect the capsule off the retina, because it is quite impossible. If you have any retinal holes, then it is better to laser the holes before you remove the foreign body. In case of subretinal foreign body, it is better to remove it from an external approach and give a support by scleral buckle. So these are two situations where you see extreme trauma. There's a large bullet, large inside, and there is no other way to remove it but by open sky vitrectomy. And so this is being removed through open sky, and then donor cornea is sutured onto the eye. And this is another situation where already attempted surgery has failed to remove the foreign body. So this is the second attempt where we are again going inside with a 20 gauge MBR knife, and you see a large cuboidal glass foreign body lying on the retina. Glass foreign body is little difficult to grasp because it keeps slipping. So here we are using a foreign body tongue-like foreign body forceps which can open wide, and this is being lifted up into the anterior chamber. So this already limbal section is there, so you need to cut open the limbal section so that you have a broader access for removal of this foreign body. Generous viscoelastic will help in protecting the endothelium, and then this foreign body is being delivered through the limbal route. So luckily this foreign body could be removed safely without damaging the retina. Suprachoroidal hemorrhage is often present in traumatic situation, and it can be dealt with similarly in other situations. However, a 2-week interval is better to wait in case you don't have any other problems such as severe retinal injuries or glaucoma. Post-traumatic endophthalmitis, I will not go into detail because Abhishek will be covering it, but it is the risk factors are delayed primary wound repair, presence of foreign body, and a ruptured lens or capsule. A note about no light perception eyes, what to do with these eyes, whether to attempt surgery or no. So first of all, rule out these three things, that is optic nerve avulsion, optic nerve transection, and profound loss of intraocular contents. If these three are present, then definitely there is no chance of regaining any vision, and you can leave these eyes. But however, otherwise, if it is a severe trauma, you can attempt repair. Sometimes about 4 to 33% of patients can recover some vision. And so this is one paper where they have shown about 23% recovery in such eyes. So value points, I would say that is often less than ideal situation. There are many challenges and improvisation is necessary. You may have to think on one's feet and ready with a plan B. Expect the worst, always try to save the globe, and wound repair should be attempted even in a bad way. And best time to intervene is about 10 to 15 days after the trauma. And although there are varied outcomes, but sometimes useful vision can be salvaged. Thank you.